It's just the small details of the day, right? That was my Bible verse through my journey. Delight in the small details of the day. That means, and I got that from convention, delight in the small details of the day, that means, you're expecting the huge thing, and you're missing the little details. So when you find that little detail, then the next little detail shows up, the next little detail, and you put it all together and you go, that's what it meant. So I'm just very honored that you guys are going to get to hear what I heard about. Well, we decided it was probably 6 years ago, and I didn't know then that I would use it today. And so I'm super excited about that. So I've invited Tyson and Jackie King. They were from Plano, Texas, and they drove in last night. But the cool detail about this is I taught to the Catholic Church in Columbus, and Tyson's mom was there. Jackie's mom. I'm sorry. Yeah, so anyway, it is just very, very honored for them to be here. So I'll let you guys have it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. The meeting in Columbus that Dawn spoke about having this event. So I'm from, what?
What's your name?
Her name is Charlene Callis. And, but like she said, this is Tyson, I'm Jackie. We have 2 of our 5 kids here. We've got 5 kiddos. These are our 2 youngest. Brindley is, how old are you, 12? Jackson's 9, and then we've got a 13-year-old, an 18-year-old, and a 20-year-old. So they're all busy doing their stuff back up in the McKinney area where we're from. But I'm from Columbus, and Tyson is from El Campo, so just right down the road. And it was fun to walk in here. Somebody asked, do you know any of the people that are in here? Are you from this area? And I was like, I actually do. I'm right here, and here, Miss Garcia, and Miss Munch. She was my softball coach. Known her since kindergarten, all her kiddos. So it's kind of cool to come back and see all you guys doing this. But yeah, we're just here to talk about the butterfly effect. I don't know if you've heard of that. Andy Andrews, like it says on the screen, does have a really good little book that goes into way more detail. It's a fun read and a great read. So if you decide you want to read more about it, you can get that book. But we spoke on this at a convention through Team National. I don't know if you've heard of that. And that's where we met Dawn and some of the other ladies in the room. So it's fun to get to see them again as well. But she asked us to speak on this today. And we were looking at our calendar, and I don't even know if she knew that I was from here, and I think she in general knew we were from the area. But we had planned on going to an event in Austin anyway this weekend on Thursday and Friday, and then coming to visit my mom. And when we looked at where it was going to be located, and it said Alleyton, I was like, that's crazy. That's like literally 5 minutes from Columbus. The small details, right, Dawn, for her to ask on this weekend when we were planning on coming this direction, and it'd be 5 minutes from my mom's house is incredible. So it's awesome to see all that work. And then when I walked in the room, we're going to talk a little bit. Tyson, going to flip the next slide. I'll just kind of introduce this, and then he'll go into the details of telling you a great story of how this all works. But back in 1963, this man, his name was Edward Lorenz, and he presented what was called the chaos theory. And the chaos theory now has kind of been recoined the butterfly effect. But what it means basically is, what chaos means, basically a very small, seemingly insignificant effect or some event that happens can cause something very significant down the road. For example, like if a butterfly, where the term comes from, how a butterfly can flap its wings, maybe in Japan or somewhere, can cause eventually a hurricane off the coast of Florida. Because it's those little, almost insignificant things that are happening can turn into something very significant. And that's what the chaos theory is, or now it's kind of termed the butterfly effect. But it was so cool because when I walked in the doors earlier, we walked in the doors, Dawn ran up to the door and she said, "Welcome to the chaos." And I was like, how cool is that? We're going to be talking about chaos theory. And I said, isn't it fun to be in chaos? Most people think chaos is negative, right? But chaos is not negative, because the more chaotic it is, that means things are happening. And when things are happening, they can be happening for the good. And so it's great to be in chaos, and it's not a negative thing. But she was like, welcome to the chaos. And I was like, how perfect. perfect. It is. We're talking about the chaos theory. So anyway, I just kind of wanted to explain that a little bit. And he's going to tell you a story about how all that kind of gets put into motion and how it can impact thousands of people's lives for the better.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm glad to be here. And I am a fighting rice bird from El Campo. And my mother ran the daycare center down there in Tanaking for a long time at the Methodist Daycare Center. And Jackie's mom, Miss Callis, said, well, what are y'all going to be talking to this breast cancer thing, and what's going on, and why do they want you to talk, Tyson? I was like, well, I'm not real sure. No, but get where you can see the slides, because I was really moved when Don called us to come up here and present this, that was something we talked about 7 years ago. And to make an impact on her, that at this huge event, when I came in, I got emotional to know that something maybe we said way back then had an impact, and hopefully something we say today will have an impact on you guys, because what you do, guys, does matter. And what Jackie was talking about, the butterfly effect, what happens is that butterfly, what he said, what Lorenz says, is the butterfly flaps his wings, and by doing that, it causes a molecule to move. And that molecule causes other molecules to move, which causes other molecules to move. And by the time it gets to the other side of the world, it's like a hurricane. Well, he presented this in 1963, and they laughed him out of the room. They said, this guy's a clown. There's no way that can happen. Well, in 1991, some scientists proved that it actually can and does happen. Well, they also determined that no matter what kind of spot, anything that is living can create this butterfly effect. So y'all watch this. Pay close attention. Whatever you're doing, y'all got to see this. So, Norman Borlaug. Does anyone know who Norman Borlaug is? Norman Borlaug won the Nobel Peace Prize and was credited for saving 2 billion people. He created a special crop that could withstand any kind of climates, and high heat climates and deserts. He created this. And because of that, they were able to feed some of these countries that were famine because they had these arid climates. And he was credited with 2 billion lives saved and counting, and he won the Nobel Peace Prize. But the question is, did Norman Borlaug actually save those 2 billion people? Or was it Henry Wallace? See, Henry Wallace, most of us know him as the vice president for FDR, one of the vice presidents for FDR, but he was also the Secretary of Agriculture under Roosevelt from 33 to 40, and he had a love for horticulture, farming, and he loved going to Mexico, and he saw that he was on vacation, and he saw that their staple in their diet was corn, but they couldn't produce enough. And he was from Iowa, and he had an idea. He said he'd create agricultural experimental stations like they had in Iowa, and these stations would develop a corn variety. And so when he became vice president, he went to the Rockefeller Foundation and said, listen, we need to build one of these stations in Mexico. And they said, yeah, that'll be great. And guess who the first person he hired was? Norman Borlaug. So was it Norman Borlaug that saved 2 billion people, or was it Henry Wallace? Or was it George Washington Carver? Now, George Washington Carver, how does he fit in the mix? The Peanut Man. George Washington Carver, look at what he has developed. Synthetic discovery, adhesive, axle grease, bleach, shoe polish, soil conditioner, Worcestershire sauce. I didn't know that. But when he was a student at Iowa State University, he would take long walks and study the crops and study the corn and the plants. Well, one of his professors said, "Do you mind taking my son with you?" He's a 6-year-old boy, and this 6-year-old boy went with George Washington Carver on these walks to look at these crops. And that 6-year-old boy was none other than Henry Wallace, that started the plant that hired Norman Borlaug, that Norman Borlaug won the Nobel Peace Prize. So maybe it was George Washington Carver that saved 2 billion people. Or maybe it was Moses and Susan. See, Moses and Susan lived in a slave state, but they did not believe in slavery. But their good friends were Mary and Giles Washington. And raiders one night came into their farm and raided their farm and kidnapped the Washingtons. Kidnapped the Washingtons and their kids. And they took their Washingtons and the 2 kids and a 1-week-old baby. And they left. Moses here feared for their lives. They got sold into slavery, but there was one left. And Moses went on his last horse that he had and traded his horse 2.5 hours by horse ride away to the raiders for a burlap sack with a little kid in it. And that little kid was George Washington Carver. He was really George Washington. But his parents were killed, and George Washington was adopted by Moses and Susan Carver, that's where George Washington Carver got his name. So was it Moses and Susan that saved the 2 billion people? Is that crazy? Well, think about that butterfly effect, flapping those wings. Well, what if Moses would have said, it's probably, he's gone, it's not that big a deal. What if George Washington Carver said, I don't have time to take your 6-year-old boy on a walk? What if Henry Wallace said, you know what? I'm just on vacation. I'm not worried about these Mexicans and their corn. Imagine the flapping of the wings. What happened? That, and we could go on and on and on, right? And God has a special plan for all of us, for all of you. And you're not here by mistake. What you guys are doing right now, the reason I got so emotional coming in here is because what you guys are doing matters. And sometimes we get into life and we get into doing stuff and getting the busyness of it, and you just get wore out and you're like, what's all this worth? Well, guess what? 6 years ago, Dawn met them, and by the way, the butterfly effect's in this room. This is a picture she sent me when they were setting up tables. This butterfly fell out on the ground. And she said, guess what? The butterfly's here. And I said, you dang right. See, all of you guys are flapping your wings. All of you. Every little stitch that you're making, you're flapping those wings. That talk that you gave. I mean, that has an impact. We have 5 kids, all boys except for 4 girls. Okay? So we go through a lot of drama and toilet paper in our house, for sure. But when people start talking about breast cancer, my ears perk up. Because with 4 daughters and a wife, I mean, there's some risks there, right? So I met these guys, like she said, back about 6 years ago. And that's a picture of them probably around that time at the event, and shortly after got breast cancer. And here we are today. But what was crazy when I was talking to Don, I think it's Karen, isn't it, back there, ironing? Don was taking a box to the post office. And Karen, were you working at the post office? Or you just happened to be going into the post office? Saw her unloading, she started helping her unload. Well, guess what Don was doing? She was flapping her wings, right? Okay? Well, guess what Karen did? She decided to pick up the box, and she started flapping. Well, then now Karen's back here. Well, is it Debbie right there from Oregon and now Washington? How did you hear about this, Debbie? On a Facebook page. Someone was flapping on Facebook.
And she's a survivor.
And she's a survivor. She started flapping. And now she's here from Washington. Have you ever been to Mintz or wherever we're at? Alleyton? I hadn't either. And I'm not from Washington. I'm just from down the road, actually. And now look at her. And every single one of you. I saw this gentleman back here stuffing pillows. He's still stuffing pillows.
They brought 118 pillows this morning done.
Wow.
Yep.
That's incredible.
Yep.
But I know sometimes when you guys are stuffing pillows, you're like, oh my goodness. I just don't know if this matters. I mean, I know it does, but dadgum, I'm tired of stuffing pillows. But guess what? What you did when we came in here, what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing y'all flap those wings. And what happens is that this will be tens of thousands of, not boxes going out. There'll be tens of thousands of people stuffing pillows. And y'all all are going to say, you know what? That one day, I remember that first event when we were there and we ate the barbecue sandwiches and they started talking about the butterfly effect. And you're going to say, I was part of that deal. Thousands of boxes, thousands of lives have already been changed, but it's going to continue. And all I encourage you to do is keep flapping, okay? Because here's the deal. When we came in, we looked over there, I said, man, look at that stack. It's right there in that corner. Yep. That's a pretty cool stack right there. Look at you guys. Oh, you talk about chaos. That's incredible. Look at you flapping your wings. There's a lot of people out in the communities that don't have a lot of hope because maybe they've lost a loved one. Maybe you've lost a loved one. Maybe your eyes, like mine, aren't very good anymore, and you can't sew like you used to sew. Well, I can tell you what, you can get in here and they got something for you to do. And you're doing it. You're flapping your wings. Get some of your friends and let them start flapping as well. Even got the kids out there flapping. That's so cool. And I guarantee you, when those people open the box and the pillow hits them in the face and the rocks fall out, they're going to pick up that rock and see the little kid's handwriting, and there'll be tears coming down. And they're going to say, my gosh, someone just flapped their wings on the other side of the earth, and it's changed a tsunami over here on my side. And for you guys over here, look at that picture. Imagine that's butterflies. When they open that box, butterflies are just going to fly out, and people are going to be like, oh my gosh, what can I do? What can I do? And I commend you, Don, for not taking a negative and dwelling on it, but saying, what can I do to change this world for the better? And all of you guys, I will tell you, you're going to go change the world. All of you are changing the world. I don't care if you're 6, like my little buddy over there, to the oldest person in here. All of you have a lot of life and a lot of flapping to do, and you can go change this world. So what you do matters. It's made a difference to me and my family, and I appreciate y'all letting me share with you today. So thanks a lot, guys.
Is this not special? We have to realize, like, that's why I could get so emotional, because what we do matters right here. Your hands, what you're doing in your hands, whatever it is. We're going to send that box. We've already sent, 70 have already gone. Well, and actually I think Jared's got another load. I mean, and y'all know, because you help me. You're here all the time. I say it all the time because I don't know what else to say, and I don't know anything good enough to tell you thank you except from the heart. Thank you, because 12,487 women have been touched. That's a lot of drops in the bucket, y'all. That's a bucket full of drops. And we are changing the fear of cancer by sharing these boxes. And I believe it, I say it, and I stand on it. I stand on it. We can't cure cancer, but by golly, who in here, yes ma'am?
What's the farthest one of your boxes has gone?
The farthest the boxes have gone, I've shipped to every state, so that's not the farthest. I've shipped to, I know Hawaii is a state, but it's like not attached, so it's not the farthest. I've shipped to every country except China. I've shipped to Finland, I've shipped to Switzerland, I've shipped to Australia. Australia takes 60 days. I've shipped to England, I've shipped all over the UK and Canada and all the Alaska. I've shipped to Korea. A lot of the boxes that go are military. And so it's in the military. And we hear it. But they get it, and so we ship to military addresses. But it's expensive. I mean, like I have shipped, okay, the farthest. Here's the farthest. Africa. And Africa, it's $85 to ship a box. And it takes 60 days to get there. 60. Because I asked her, I've shipped 2. And I asked her, I said, look, when you get this, I want to know 2 things. Is the box intact? Because, just imagine. And when it gets there. I know when it's shipping. I told her, shipping it tomorrow. You let me know. It was 60 days to the day. And it was it's been perfect. And people, everybody gripes about the post office, y'all. I'm going to tell you something. Jesus loves kindness, and every box gets where it needs to be within 5 days. I ship everything priority, and some things happen. They do the best they can. But my boxes, ours get there. Because it's kindness, right? It flows. So it is the farthest, but we've done this. We've done this. Today, this weekend is my anniversary, 5-year anniversary from my surgery. It's not the right date, but it's the right weekend. So, right? Okay, so, I want, but while I have this, and the group is here, because I don't know if anybody's going to leave, who's a survivor? I want you to stand up. I want you to stand up if you're a survivor. Look at there. Look at there. Okay. And what's powerful is we stand here and we continue to fight every day. And we surround the warriors that come behind us and around us. And so I just tell you, we're important. What we're doing is important, but it's not about us. And we know that. Nobody takes this more serious than everybody in here. You know what you're doing, and you know we're doing it for the right reason. And so I'm just grateful. I thank you.
Let me ask a question real quick.
Okay. Because we family.
Yeah. Did any of you guys, has anyone here one that received a box, maybe early on? So y'all received a box? And so y'all come up here real quick if you don't mind. I'm not going to ask you to talk.
I'll stand with you. He's making his butt.
I'm not going to ask you to talk. Unless you want to. Okay, what's your name?
Kim Carpenter,
He's strong.
Where are you from, Kim?
Brookshire, Patterson area.
Okay, and so how did you hear about this?
Well, we're almost related a little bit down the line. She's related to some of the same people I'm related to. And whenever I found out I had breast cancer, because my parents own a small business and we knew so many people and they were going to ask questions instead of hiding it, I put it on Facebook and everybody's like, contact God, contact God.
That's awesome.
So I did, and I received my box, which, y'all, it is a big deal. It is. You're going through a hard time, and people care enough to do this that we're doing, and it's awesome. It's important.
Oh man, that's some good stuff. That is flapping your wings for you, for sure. What about you? You received a box? What is your name? Where are you from?
Elizabeth Dorsey,
And where are you from?
North Carolina.
North Carolina. Awesome.
Family.
Wow. And so,
And I,
when did you receive your box?
early July 2020.
Awesome. And so how did you hear about this?
My biopsy and diagnosis dates line up with Dawn's 2 years later. I looked her up online, on Facebook.
Really?
I was looking for support groups and found Blessing Box Project and looked into it. And shipped her 3 boxes of fabric 2 days before my bilateral mastectomy. And I've been part of it ever since.
And now she built the website.
Wow.
She built the
That's
website.
awesome.
She's an admin for the main, she and Amy are the main admins for the Facebook page.
That's awesome. So, are there anybody? Yeah, look there. You talking about these two flapping
I was there, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so, is there anybody that you guys have given a name or something to Dawn that you shipped a box to one of the people that you bunch them?
All the time.
Are any of them here?
No.
No one here. They'll be part of it
Because
though.
they're across the.
Yeah. This is so cool. You see what happens? And there, oh yes, come up. And anybody else that has some stories?
I want to share our story. I was with the church group, and we just found out my 37-year-old niece was diagnosed with cancer. We had prayer partners, and I was praying for her, and she stopped me and she said, "You need a box." I said, "No, I need a prayer." She said, "No, you need a box from Dawn." And I'm like, I had no clue what she was talking about. She is Joan Malota, which is Dawn's daughter, mother-in-law.
Yes, Jared's mom.
So within a week, I met Dawn, we got a box, and another 6 months later, we had a sew-in at St. Rock.
Yes.
And here we are today. So that's how our story happened.
That right there. Y'all see that?
He's got the good wings out.
Y'all haven't ever heard of butterflies' wings, have you? That's how they sound.
That's how it sounds.
But they're like this.
Okay, Susan.
Well, my box was special because Dawn gave it to me herself. She came to our church in Sealy and was asking the ladies group if we could have a sew-in there. And I had just been diagnosed, and the ladies knew I had just been diagnosed. And I was working right next door at the Sealy Pregnancy Center, volunteering. And they called for me to come to the meeting. I said, "I don't want to come to that meeting, I'm busy." I didn't know Dawn was waiting for me with a box. And so I used my pillow and finally, I had to open it up and add more stuffing because I had used it so much. And now I'm hooked.
Yeah, she's hooked.
I am
I pick
hooked.
up pillows every week. She and the Stanfords, that's the Hollyfield of Belleville.
So that was early 2020, and she's gone leaps and bounds since that time. It's been a real pleasure. Thank you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And just think, and have you told anybody about a box? Has anyone gotten a box that you knew of, that you've told about?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And just think if every one of you tell one person about these boxes, and they tell one and tell them, and that's how we create a tsunami over in Mintz, Texas, right? Or Alleyton, or wherever we are. Well, thank you guys. I just want y'all to see it played out. Appreciate it.
Okay, so, again, we're gonna get back at it, but I'm so grateful. He did a wonderful job. I mean, and it is exactly what I needed you guys to hear. And so that is my thank you. That is what I feel, hearing that story portrayed so well. I hope that is the gold with the diamond on it that shows you how much I care and how much I appreciate what you're doing. So we're gonna get back at it, rocking and rolling. HR over there, they're just doing it, aren't they? That's great. And we're gonna keep clicking as long as the cards let us click, baby. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go back at it. We have dinner tonight about 5:30. I have some kind of a Zoom or something. We're gonna talk with Tara off of the Facebook page. I really don't even know her last name, but because it's Tara's Online Christian Journey, and she's agreed. She's from Minnesota, and she's agreed to talk with us a little bit tonight. So I'm super excited because I watched her. I found her during my chemo, and I was scrolling and breathing, and that's all I was doing. And so I found her And everybody kind of was saying, why don't we get Tara, why don't we get Tara? And so she's agreed to talk to us. So I can't wait to hear her story as to what brought her to her scraps of paper in her Bible. So that's what we're going to do. Make yourself at home this afternoon. Drinks and desserts, and calories don't count when you're not in your zip code. Just so y'all, I don't know if you know that. Okay, gluten doesn't count either. I'm just saying, if you're not in your zip code, you are completely safe. Just make yourself at home, and we will keep you fed. Let us know if we can help you. But thanks so much.